Hi everyone, I'm Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch President, with our weekly update for you here on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Thanks for joining us again this week. I wasn't around last week, so there's a lot to catch up on in terms of our anti-corruption watchdog work from our headquarters here in Washington, D.C. For those of you who don't know, Judicial Watch is a nonprofit educational foundation that combats government corruption by trying to figure out what the bad guys in government are up to. And we do that through litigation and investigation and education. So in that regard, we've got a lot to report to you about today, some of which is going to spur you to action, some of which is going to outrage you. First up, new documents were produced to us finally in our litigation to try to get the records about what went on at that Clinton-Lynch Tarmac meeting. You remember the meeting that took place last year where Attorney General Lynch, then President Obama's Attorney General, coincidentally met with President Bill Clinton just shortly before Hillary Clinton was supposed to testify. And they met on Attorney General Lynch's airplane at the Phoenix airport in Arizona. It caused quite a scandal. The Justice Department went into cover-up mode or spin mode, however you want to describe it. And even the Attorney General Lynch described the meeting as something that cast a cloud over her investigation into the Clinton email matter. And certainly even James Comey was spooked by the communications between Lynch and Clinton at that sensitive time and took it upon himself to pretend to be Attorney General for a time in an abusive way. So it really was a significant scandal, and one which is still reverberating today. As you know, there are still calls for an investigation, a criminal investigation of what went on there. But Judicial Watch doesn't wait for the government to do things. We do things independently. It's a great system we have here in the United States that allows groups like Judicial Watch to ask for information independently. It doesn't get to us as quickly and timely as we like sometimes, but we're still getting the documents. What happened here is we sued for the records after we were given the proverbial hand to the face by the administration, the prior administration. Actually, we sued under the current administration, so we got the hand to the face from both administrations. And we have finally gotten records. We got two batches of records. The first batch we got about a month ago. They showed communications between the media and the Justice Department about the Clinton-Lynch Tarmac meeting. The media started getting word of it. They started asking the Justice Department questions. So some back and forth there. Not terribly newsworthy, other than that seemingly the Washington Post and the New York Times wasn't terribly interested in covering this story. Surprise, surprise. Looked like they were kind of forced into it. The reporters were. They were almost apologetic in the emails about even asking the questions. But secondly, we got the big batch of documents just this week, and it's really outrageous because they just show, again, the media interest here in the investigation, and the Justice Department trying to figure out what the response is. And as they try to figure out what the response is, they are drafting talking points. And these talking points are really the method, that's what they use to talk about the case. So when Lynch is asked questions, when top Justice Department officials are asked questions, and yes, they're communicating with the FBI about this issue when the FBI is asked questions, they rely on these talking points. Well, the talking points are completely blacked out. You heard that right. They're blocked out. Again, they weren't blacked out by Attorney General Lynch. They weren't blacked out by James Comey. They weren't blacked out by Barack Obama. They were blacked out by the Justice Department, run by Attorney General Sessions, an appointee of President Trump. Isn't that outrageous? And the excuse they use to black the records out, they call it's redaction, the legal phrase is, it's under B-5, and B-5 is an exemption that you can invoke under FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, which allows government agencies to withhold information. And this B-5 exemption allows the government to withhold information because it's deliberative, it's pre-decisional, it's draft. And so as a result, they don't want to chill government deliberations by releasing this material for fear of people whose ideas are cast aside or seen as foolish or not acted upon. They don't feel bad about themselves. They call it, they don't want to chill government deliberations by leaking information about them. If you're skeptical of that, I share your skepticism, because that is a giant loophole for keeping information away from the American people about cover-ups and other malicious and mendacious behavior by the federal government. And so it's really surprising and frankly jaw-dropping that the Trump administration is blacking out this key information about that infamous Clinton-Lynch Tarmac meeting. This is the information, these talking points are how they spun the scandal. And we can't get access to that under this Trump administration. They're making a discretionary call to black out this information. And frankly, President Trump should directly order the release of these records. That's what he should do. So you can go ahead online. I should have printed out a few to show you here, but go online or our website at judicialwatch.org and click on the release about the Clinton-Lynch Tarmac records, and you can look at all the records we received. And you'll see where they're blacked out. And you're going to be furious about it. And it's the Justice Department who is withholding this information from us. Again, run by the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, appointed by President Trump. And it's terribly disappointing that now we are in August, the Justice Department is acting as if Hillary Clinton won the election, and acting in a way that continues to protect Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration. And it's got to change. It's got to change. And that's why we're in court, to force it to change and try to get around these battles. But the fact that we are in court battling the Trump administration on Clinton scandal information, to me, is just unbelievable. But nevertheless, we're going to keep on fighting, and we're going to get the information out, even if we're opposed by now Trump administration appointees in getting it done. Also, this week we have, along those lines, finally some significant new information. We've been getting a lot of it almost monthly from the State Department. These are Huma Abedin emails. Now, Huma Abedin, the top aide to Hillary Clinton at the State Department, close to her over decades, who had an email account on Mrs. Clinton's illicit email server, and she was doing government business on this email account, getting classified information on this email account, and obviously communicating with Hillary Clinton on this email account. So these new batch of documents, a whopping 1,600 documents or pages of documents we received from the Department of State. And they show, again, more pay for play, more abuses and mishandling of classified information, and more emails that Hillary Clinton had, but she did not turn over to the State Department as she promised. So let's go back to that first point first. There are 91 new Clinton emails, which bring the grand total, I think, to over 500 new Clinton emails that Judicial Watch uncovered. Not Congress, not the media, Judicial Watch uncovered, that Hillary Clinton did not turn over to the State Department as she promised. We wouldn't be getting these emails if they weren't government related. She said she turned them all over to the State Department, all government related emails. She didn't. She did not. And she told the court in our case under penalty of perjury that as far as she knew, all the emails were turned over. But she was much more direct with Congress. And as I recall, the Congress referred to her testimony for perjury, for a perjury investigation in the Justice Department. I don't know what's happening there. So again, this shows that Mrs. Clinton may have not been telling the truth, to put it charitably here. But there are other documents that show, again, the pay for play in these emails. And I have this press release I'm referring to is 8 pages, so I can't get into it all here. But it shows that the Clinton Foundation was a way station for donor favors with the State Department, and they were communicating repeatedly and often with Huma Abedin to get favors done on behalf of Clinton Foundation donors. Now, typically that might be the subject of a criminal investigation, don't you think? And it's document after document we detail. In fact, one donor we have, they talked about trying to get someone the donor knew who was the donor was a major donor to the Clinton Foundation, and Miguel Lassell, L-A-U-S-E-L-L, a Puerto Rican telecom executive who reportedly donated $1 million to the Clinton Presidential Library and was a member of the Clinton Global Initiative, which is one of the Clinton Foundation fronts. He made a request of Abedin through the Clinton Foundation executive Doug Bann. Doug Bann was the go-between to push for the appointment of someone to become U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic. And they followed up on it. We don't know who the ambassador was because they redacted the name. Again, the Obama State Department, it wasn't the Obama State Department, it was the Trump State Department that redacted the name of the person they were pushing forward. Also, there are many documents that show, again, Mrs. Clinton was mishandling classified information. Abedin was mishandling classified information. They were sending and receiving classified information on these emails. Now, their argument is it wasn't classified at the time. Well, it was classified at the time. It certainly wasn't marked classified at the time, but it was classified at the time. And it's the job of Hillary Clinton and Yuma Abedin to know that and to certainly operate her email system in a way so as they can protect information they're receiving, even if it's not marked classified. So when they're using these private email accounts, they're putting all this information at risk, which is why criminally they need to be investigated. Because the law makes no distinction, despite what Mr. Comey says, about whether there was intent or not. You can't do it this way in such a negligent way. And the documents we have confirm that on multiple occasions. So there's just new instances of mishandling classified information that these new emails show. And so go to our website, go through the release, you'll see all the details here. But there's more information to pay, and I don't know how much more information we need on pay-to-play, on abuse of classified information, and the typical Clinton way of doing things in terms of misusing her public office for private gain, for there to be a serious criminal investigation. You know, one of the things I noted is that something big in the news this week is that their special counsel Mueller, the compromised and arguably unconstitutional office, has initiated or impaneled a grand jury here in the District of Columbia. The grand jury is a serious development for President Trump and his family and his associates. I'm sure folks who are friendly to the Trump team are going to be trying to spin this in a way to minimize it, but it really shouldn't be minimized because it's serious. It shows you that they aim to try to jail this president and his family. I don't know how else to tell you this, but a federal grand jury is serious. Now, we now know, well after the fact, thanks to Judicial Watch, there was a grand jury looking at the Clinton email matter, but they were just using it to issue emails or subpoenas. And all reports indicate this is a much more serious use of a grand jury by the special counsel. And compare and contrast the way that the Trump team and he is being treated versus the way Hillary Clinton was treated. All this criminal information, I'm not aware of any major grand juries that were in operation. No one was brought before a grand jury. Not everyone, seemingly everyone was granted immunity. All this in-your-face obstruction of justice that was uncovered was never pursued. And compare and contrast the disparate treatment between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump by this corrupt Justice Department and FBI. Yes, corrupt Justice Department and FBI. Does it mean that Jeff Sessions is corrupt? No. Does it mean that the director of the FBI, the new director Wray, is necessarily corrupt? No. But the institutions are corrupt, and you can see it in the handling of the Trump investigation versus the Hillary Clinton investigation. The Trump investigation, an investigation in search of a crime they couldn't even have a clue about before they went into it. No predicate criminal activity to justify the resources thrown at trying to put Mr. Trump and his family in jail. And with Hillary Clinton, you had all sorts of in-your-face evidence of crimes, and they couldn't care less about it. They did it, they frankly wouldn't have done a lot of the investigation, frankly, if it weren't for the pressure, public pressure and pressure from Judicial Watch. So this is a real rule of law scandal going on right now. Hillary Clinton getting away with everything while Donald Trump being prosecuted based on what we still don't know. Not that he's been literally prosecuted, but certainly they have him in his sights. This is a real crisis. What is Judicial Watch doing to address it? We're asking questions. We're not waiting for Congress to get to the bottom of it. We're not waiting for the media to do it. We know what the media's views on this are. We're doing our own work. And to that end, we sued for more information on the Comey memo and the Comey memos. And these are the memos that James Comey, in my view, dishonestly created after his various meetings with Donald Trump, or so he tells us. And we don't necessarily believe that, and that's why our lawsuit is designed to get what is called the metadata of these documents. And the metadata could provide us information about who wrote the memos, and when they were edited, and when they were created. And so we've asked the FBI for the information. We haven't gotten it, and so we're suing. Everyone wonders, when did Comey write the memos? Did he write them well after the fact, or did he write them at the time of the meetings? And did he edit them at all after he wrote them? The metadata may tell us that. And again, it's Judicial Watch getting this key investigation going. And many have been concerned about the acting FBI director. Now he's back, I guess, in a deputy position now that the Director Wray is there, Mr. McCabe. Now, Andrew McCabe was acting FBI director after Comey was fired, but he was the number 2 in the department for a good period of time. And folks are concerned about him because of his connections to the Democratic establishment. His wife, when ran for office, got $500,000 or so from the political operation of Terrence McAuliffe, who's the Democratic Virginia governor and a Clinton crony. Corrupt as the day is long. McAuliffe is also was also under investigation by the FBI. So how did that work? Why was McCabe allowed to work on that case? Supposedly there was a conflicts check, and he was allowed to work despite his family getting $500,000 for a political campaign. Unbelievable. We also want so we've asked for records about that. We've also asked for his, what else did we ask for? We asked for travel and other things like that. You often can get a lot of information about travel forms and financial disclosure forms and things of that nature. So we, we have 3 lawsuits on Mr. McCabe. 3 lawsuits. So in the week, I guess it wasn't this week, but last week we filed a total of 4 lawsuits against the deep state FBI. And so we're getting the information about what Mr. McCabe was up to. Did he have an agenda different from the public interest because of his political ties to the Democratic establishment? And we know Comey hated President Trump. Did McCabe too? And did they abuse their position at the FBI to target him? Those are the sorts of things that I think our lawsuits may uncover. If presumably the Trump, I keep on saying Obama Justice Department, and I don't know if that's a Freudian slip or not. If the Justice Department gets its act together and starts complying and following the law. Again, it's getting a little long. It's getting the excuse of it's the deep state. I understand it's still significant issues about getting people in place, but there comes a point where the leadership needs to take account for what the agencies are doing. And you don't need a lot of people in an agency in order to get good things done. And there has to be more leadership from the Justice Department in terms of complying with the law, as opposed to defending Hillary Clinton, defending the Clinton gang, defending the Obama gang, defending the deep state. They've got to get their act together at the Justice Department. And along those lines, Judicial Watch is doing the work of the Justice Department when it comes to election integrity. And you may recall that we've sent warning letters to 11 states, warning them that they have many places in their states and counties in their states where they have more people on the rolls than are eligible to vote. Now, federal law, the National Voter Registration Act, requires states to take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And if you got more people on the rolls than are eligible to vote, that's a pretty good indication you're not taking reasonable steps to clean up the rolls. And in the case of California, now California is the 12th state we warned about this issue, because we looked at various counties in California, and you have, in San Francisco, they have 114% of the voting age population on the rolls. So that means that people who moved away and dead people aren't being removed. That's what it means. And there are other ineligible people who aren't being removed from the rolls. San Francisco, 114%. Los Angeles, 112%. And that number is the official number. We talked to Los Angeles County officials in investigating this issue, and they said, oh no, it's not 112%. Their latest numbers are that it's 144%. It's a nightmare. San Diego, another major metropolitan area, 138%. Again, they've got 138% of their eligible population on their voting rolls. So that means everyone in the county who's alive and eligible to vote, they've got 38% more on the rolls. In LA, it's 44% more. Santa Cruz, 9% more. San Mateo, 11% more. So this is really a voting integrity nightmare in California. And it's an absolute mess. It undermines the integrity of the elections there in California. And so it's urgent that California take reasonable steps to clean up the rolls, and that's what our warning letter is about. We're representing California state residents, and are also representing a great grassroots group out there called the Election Integrity Project California, Inc. So we're working with folks on the ground in California to get California to clean up the rolls. It looks to me like they never take anyone off the rolls, whether you're dead or alive, whatever. They just never removed you from the rolls. And obviously that means more voting fraud potentially. So if you have dirty election rolls, it certainly can mean dirty elections. And again, the Justice Department hasn't been enforcing this law under President Obama. They're trying to get their act together under Jeff Sessions, to his credit, but Judicial Watch is the lead here. And we're the lead on, like we are on so many other anti-corruption issues. So we are doing the Lord's work on election integrity, trying to figure out what the corruption of the FBI is about with Comey and McCabe. We've gotten these key documents on Hillary Clinton that in an insane world would lead to a renewed criminal investigation by the Justice Department. And then, of course, we've exposed mendacity by both the Obama administration and, frankly, the Trump Justice Department in protecting that mendacity on the Clinton-Lynch Tarmac meetings. So a lot to talk about, a lot for you to follow up with. I want you to go to our website, look at all this material, look at the documents, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I appreciate your activism in getting the word out about this work and, of course, supporting our cause so we can do more of it. I appreciate your time with me today. Have a great weekend, and hopefully I'll see you soon.